We begin our journey not at the end, but at the beginning of the end. We step out of the warm light of the upper room, a place of fellowship, of covenant, and of final instructions, and we walk with him into the chill of the night air. The path descends. It always does before the ascent. We are heading toward a place familiar to him, a garden. But this is not the garden of pristine innocence, not the cradle of humanity's first breath. This is Gethsemane, which means the olive press. It is a place of crushing, a place where profound weight is applied to extract what is most precious. The very name is a prophecy of the night's events. We are walking into the dark, not just the absence of the sun, but a spiritual darkness, a palpable entity that seems to cling to the ancient trees. The moon, perhaps full in this Passover season, casts long, skeletal shadows. The city of Jerusalem, bustling hours before with pilgrims and priests, now looms as a silent, sleeping witness on the hill opposite. But its silence is deceptive. It is a city coiled, waiting to strike. He knows this. He leads his chosen few, the inner circle, across the Kidron Valley, a valley of graves, a valley of judgment. He is already carrying a weight that we cannot see, a sorrow that is beginning to envelop him like a shroud. This is not the triumphant entry of days before, with palms and hosannas. This is a quiet, deliberate march into the heart of the press. He is not being dragged to this place, he is leading the way. This is the first act of surrender, the willing movement toward the place of agony. He chooses the arena for his final spiritual battle. The disciples follow, weary, confused, their hearts heavy with his recent words of betrayal and departure, yet they cannot grasp the enormity of the hour. They are following a man they love, but they are walking with God into the furnace, and they are utterly unprepared for the heat. The air itself feels thick with anticipation, as if all of creation is holding its breath, waiting to see what will happen in this garden, in this press, under the gaze of a silent heaven. He is quiet, contemplative, his focus turning inward and upward, preparing himself for a conversation that will determine the fate of all eternity. He stops. He turns to the larger group of his followers, those who have accompanied him this far, and he gives them a simple, yet profound instruction. Sit here while I go over there and pray. It is a separation, a drawing of a boundary. There is a place where community can go, and there is a place where it must stop. The deepest agonies of the soul are often solitary appointments. He is sparing them, perhaps, from a sight they could not endure, but he is also obeying a divine protocol. This next step is not for the crowd, not even for the faithful eight. He needs a different kind of proximity, yet even that proximity will prove insufficient. He takes with him Peter, James, and John, the inner circle, the witnesses of his greatest glory, the ones who saw him transfigured on the mountain, shining with the light of heaven, conversing with prophets. He brings the witnesses of his divinity to be witnesses of his profound humanity. He brings those who saw his strength to see his anguish. This is a terrible vulnerability. He is not performing for them. He is desperate for their support. He is the shepherd, but in this moment, he seeks the comfort of his sheep. My soul, he tells them, his voice likely altered by the pressure building within him, is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. This is not a casual sadness. This is a grief, so profound it is lethal. He is tasting the bitterness that will soon become the full cup. He is feeling the existential weight of what he is about to do, the cost of the world's redemption. He is not afraid of the nails, the thorns, or the spear, not primarily. He is recoiling from a spiritual horror that these men cannot even imagine, the separation from his Father. He gives them one command, the same command he gave the others, but intensified. Stay here and keep watch with me. Not just watch, but watch with me. It is a plea for fellowship in his suffering. He is asking them to enter the agony with him, to stand guard, to be present in his hour of greatest need. He doesn't ask them to fight, or to preach, or to understand. He just asks them to be awake, to be present. This is the anatomy of his sorrow. It is isolating, it is lethal, and it craves faithful presence. He then does what he must do. He separates himself again, just a little further, about a stone's throw. Even from the inner circle, there is a final, solitary distance he must travel alone till he falls. The posture of his prayer is the first word of his plea. He does not kneel in serene contemplation. He falls on his face to the ground. This is the complete collapse of the human frame under an impossible burden. It is the posture of utter desperation, of total humility, of a soul completely prostrate before the only source of power that matters. He is on the earth, the very dust he himself created, and he presses his face into it. It is a moment of profound incarnation, where the creator of the cosmos clings to the dirt of his creation as his one stability in a vortex of agony. The prayer begins, and it is the most honest prayer ever uttered. "My Father," he begins, or perhaps the more intimate Aramaic, Abba. This is the cry of a son, a beloved son, to the Father he has known and loved for eternity. This is not the formal address of a deity to a deity, it is the desperate plea of a child in terror. "If it is possible," he says, "may this cup be taken from me." Let us be unflinchingly clear about this moment. This is not theater. This is not a symbolic gesture for our benefit. This is the genuine, raw, human will of Jesus recoiling in absolute horror from what is before him. He is looking into the cup and he sees what we cannot. He sees the concentrated filth of all human history, every act of betrayal, every lie, every murder, every moment of casual cruelty, every hidden depravity from Adam until the end of time. He sees it all, and he, the one pure and spotless being, is being asked to drink it, to become it, to be stained by it. The cup is not just physical suffering. The cup is wrath. It is the just and holy anger of God against sin. And more than that, it is separation. To drink the cup means that he, who had known nothing but perfect, unbroken, ecstatic union with the Father, will be forsaken. He will become the thing God hates, so that we, who are the thing God hates, might become his children. This is the horror. This is the cup. And his human soul, in its perfect sanity and purity, screams, no. He is asking if there is another way. Is the plan mutable? Is there a different path to redemption that does not involve this absolute spiritual desolation? It is the most reasonable question ever asked, and then the pivot, the hinge upon which all of human history turns. In the same breath that he utters his desire, he utters his decision. Yet not as I will, but as you will. This is the anatomy of divine surrender. It is not the denial of his own will, but the submission of it. He does not pretend he does not want to escape. He openly, honestly states his human desire for deliverance. True surrender is not the absence of a contrary will, it is the choice to lay that will down. He holds his own will, the desire for survival, for purity, for unbroken fellowship, in one hand, and he holds the Father's will, the cup of agony and redemption, in the other, and he deliberately chooses the Father's. This single sentence is the undoing of the failure in that other garden. In Eden, the first Adam said, "My will, not yours," and plunged the world into darkness. In Gethsemane, the second Adam says, "Your will, not mine," and purchases the world's salvation. This is the battle. The cross is the execution, but the victory is won here, on the ground, in the dark, in the submission of his will. He is choosing obedience in the face of unimaginable terror. This is not passive resignation. It is not fatalism. It is an active, agonizing, and triumphant choice. He is actively aligning his human will, which shrinks from the pain, with the divine will, which embraces the purpose. He is demonstrating that the pinnacle of human existence is not self-fulfillment, but self-surrender to the perfect will of God. He is teaching us how to pray in our own Gethsemanes. We are allowed to be honest. We are allowed to cry out, "Take this from me." We are allowed to admit our fear and our desperation. But our honesty must always lead us to this final, holy destination. Nevertheless, your will be done. He has given us the script for suffering. It is a script of two parts, total honesty and total submission. He does not resolve his agony in this first prayer. He simply states his position. The battle has just begun. He rises from the ground, the dust of the earth on his face, the weight of the world on his shoulders. He walks back to the three he chose, the three he begged to watch with him. He seeks a moment of human comfort, a glance of solidarity, a sign that he is not entirely alone in this cosmic struggle. And what does he find? He finds them sleeping. Asleep. Not praying, not watching, not even wrestling with their own confusion. Just asleep. It is one of the most tragic and telling moments in the narrative. The savior of the world is in a death struggle for their very souls, and they are overcome by simple, human exhaustion. Their bodies betray their intentions. We must not judge them too harshly. We are them. We see the profound, agonizing gap between divine suffering and human comprehension. They cannot grasp the stakes. The spiritual density of the air is a sedative to them, while to him it is a crushing press. He looks at Peter, the rock, the one who hours earlier had boasted of his undying loyalty. Even if all fall away, I will not. And he asks him, the question dripping with a sorrowful irony, Simon, are you sleeping? Could you not keep watch for 1 hour? He doesn't even ask for the whole night, just 1 hour. The span of his first terrible prayer. You who promised a lifetime of loyalty, could not give 1 hour of wakefulness? It is a gentle rebuke, but it is a rebuke nonetheless. It underscores his complete and utter isolation. Heaven is silent, and earth is asleep. He is truly alone, trapped between the incomprehensibility of his mission and the infidelity of his friends. He is the only one awake in a sleeping world, the only one who sees the burglar coming, the only one standing in the gap. This failure of the disciples is not incidental, it is essential. It strips him of all human support, forcing him to rely on the Father's will alone, a will that is demanding the ultimate sacrifice. He is learning in his humanity what he already knew in his divinity. There is no help for him here. No one can share this burden. No one can watch with him. He must drink the cup alone. He looks at his sleeping friends, and his rebuke melts into a profound diagnosis of the human condition. Watch and pray, he tells them, so that you will not fall into temptation. He knows what is coming for them, the test that will scatter them like sheep. But then he speaks a truth that echoes down through the centuries, explaining them and explaining us. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. This is not an excuse. It is an explanation. It is the core conflict of the human experience, spoken by the one who is experiencing it at its most acute level. Their spirits, their intentions, their love for him, it's all genuine. Peter meant it when he promised to die for him. But their flesh, their physical limitations, their fear, their self-preservation, their exhaustion, is a powerful counterforce. He understands. He is not just a God observing this weakness, he is a man feeling it. His own flesh is at this very moment screaming for release from the cup. His own spirit is willing to obey, but his flesh recoils. He is the only one in whom the spirit will conquer the flesh, but he understands the battle intimately. He doesn't dismiss them in anger. He instructs them. He warns them that their only hope against the weakness of their flesh is the vigilance of their spirit, fueled by prayer. He is teaching them, even as he is drowning. It is an act of incredible, compassionate grace. He is more concerned for their impending temptation than his own present agony. And with that, he leaves them. He knows they are a lost cause for comfort. He turns, and he walks back to his solitary place, back to the stone's throw distance. He goes back to the press. The issue is not resolved. The agony is not abated. The first prayer was a statement of intent. The second will be the deepening of that resolve. He must pray again. Surrender is not a single event. It is a process, a repetition, a returning to the choice until the choice becomes the whole of the heart. He falls to the ground again. The same posture, the same desperation. The second prayer is a testament to the fact that surrender is rarely a one-time declaration. It is a moment-by-moment, breath-by-breath battle. He prays, "My Father," and the words that follow show a subtle but profound shift. If it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. The first prayer asked, "Is there another way?" The second prayer begins with a dawning, terrible acceptance. There is no other way. The if has shifted. It is no longer if it is possible, questioning the plan. It is now if it is not possible, accepting the plan's necessity. He is moving from petition to acceptance. He is working his way deeper into the Father's will. The horror has not lessened. The cup is still foul, still terrifying. But his alignment with the Father's purpose is hardening. He is actively, consciously, painfully letting go of his own desire for escape. This repetition is crucial. We often think prayer is about changing God's mind. Gethsemane teaches us that prayer, at its deepest level, is about God changing our mind. It is the mechanism by which our will is bent and softened until it aligns with the divine will. He is modeling this for us. The battle for the soul is won on our knees, by returning again and again to the point of submission. He is wrestling, not with the Father, but with the sheer, crushing weight of the cost. He is the olive, and the press is squeezing him, and what is coming out is this pure, agonizing prayer of obedience. The battle is internal. It is the human will, perfectly sinless but perfectly human, struggling against the necessity of an agonizing divine plan. He is not a robot proceeding with a program. He is a person, feeling the full spectrum of human revulsion to suffering and death, and choosing the Father's purpose over his own preservation. This is love in its most raw and costly form. It is a love that says, "I will be destroyed so that they may be saved." And he says it not once in a moment of bravery, but again and again in the dark, alone, while his friends sleep. He finishes his second prayer, having sunk deeper into the resolve of the Father. He stands, and once again, he returns to the three. Perhaps it is a faint, human hope, a desire to be proven wrong, to find that his words had finally pierced their exhaustion, and that he would find three men on their knees, wrestling on his behalf. He walks the stone's throw, and the scene is depressingly, tragically identical. He found them sleeping again, for their eyes were very heavy. This time there is almost a sense of the absurd. They are so profoundly disconnected from the reality of the moment. The spiritual gravity of the universe is bending and warping in this garden, and they are simply, mundanely, asleep. The text says they did not know what to answer him. It's as if they were caught in a fog, startled awake, confused, ashamed, but utterly incapable of rising to the occasion. Their heaviness is more than physical. It is a spiritual stupor. They cannot bear the weight of the revelation. They cannot comprehend the agony of their Lord. Their failure is now complete. It is no longer a momentary lapse. It is a fixed condition. This second failure serves to deepen his isolation even further. The first time he rebuked them. He instructed them. He engaged with them. This time, there is a sense of weary silence. He has passed beyond the point of needing them. He has accepted his solitude. He knows now, with finality, that this journey into the abyss must be made alone. He is the solitary champion, the one who must tread the winepress by himself. This human support system, which he had so earnestly desired, has proven Tob utterly frail. The rock is sleeping. The sons of thunder are silent. His realization is complete. The willing spirit of man, encased in weak flesh, is no match for the principalities and powers he is facing. He must rely on a strength that is not human. He must draw from the well of his own divine union with the Father, even as he prepares to have that union torn apart. The sleeping disciples are a perfect portrait of the world he is dying for, lost, unaware, and helpless, incapable of saving themselves, incapable even of staying awake for their own rescuer. He leaves them. There is no word of rebuke this time, just silence. He leaves them to their sleep and walks back, for a third time, to his place of prayer. The third repetition is the seal. It is the pattern of divine completion. He falls to the ground, and he prays again, saying the same words. This is not the sign of a lack of imagination. It is the sign of a resolved focus. When the agony is this total, there are no new words. There is only the one, central, terrifying reality and the one, central, necessary response. My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done. He is hammering his will onto the anvil of the Father's, and the sound of it echoes in the garden. This third prayer is the final turn of the screw. It is the completion of the surrender. The battle is now over. The decision, which was made in the first prayer and affirmed in the second, is now fully and completely integrated into his being. The human will and the divine will are in perfect, agonizing, triumphant accord. He has looked into the abyss, and he has said yes for the third and final time. He has finished the work the Father gave him to do in the garden. The temptation to find another way, the human recoil from the horror, has been met and conquered. He has not been delivered from the cup, but he has been delivered to it. He has fully accepted the terms of the covenant. He will be the sacrifice. He will drink the wrath. He will be forsaken. And in doing so, he will purchase the world. The agony has not disappeared, but his resistance to it has. He is no longer fighting the if. He is now ready for the when. The anatomy of surrender is complete. It has moved from honest petition, let it pass, to agonizing acceptance, if I must drink it, to final, settled resolves. The war of the wills is over. The Prince of Peace has, through profound spiritual violence, brought his own human heart into perfect, submissive peace with the terrible, glorious plan of the Father. And in this moment of ultimate agony and ultimate submission, something new happens. An angel appears from heaven, strengthening him. This is a profound mystery. Heaven, which was silent to his plea to change the plan, now responds to his decision to accept it. The Father does not remove the cup, but he sends aid to help him drink it. This is the nature of divine comfort. It is not an escape from suffering, but strength in the midst of suffering. The Incarnation is not being overruled. It is being supported. His humanity is being supernaturally bolstered to endure what no mere human could. The angel's presence does not lessen the sorrow, but it fortifies the will. It is a reminder that he is not, in the ultimate sense, alone. The Father's will may be terrible, but the Father's presence is still with him, provisionally, before the coming darkness of the cross. This angelic ministry underscores the reality of the battle. This is not just a man wrestling with his own fears. This is a cosmic conflict, and the forces of heaven are being marshaled to support their king in his moment of greatest weakness. The appearance of the angel is a validation of his choice, an affirmation from the Father that this is indeed the only way, and that all of heaven is focused on this single, prostrate figure in the dirt. The strength he receives is not a peace that numbs him, but a resolve that sharpens him, preparing him for the final, physical ordeal. He is being enabled to walk out of the garden on his own 2 feet, to face his betrayer, to stand silent before his accusers, and to endure the cross. The strength is for the mission, not for the escape. This is a critical distinction for every follower. We are not promised a life free from Gethsemane, but we are promised angelic strength in Gethsemane, a strength sufficient for the will of God to be accomplished in us. The infusion of divine strength does not remove the human agony. In fact, it intensifies it. Being in greater earnest, he prayed more fervently. The spiritual strength he received allowed him to engage the horror at an even deeper level. The result is one of the most staggering physiological events in history. His sweat was like great drops of blood falling to the ground. This is a known, though rare, medical condition called hematidrosis, where extreme anguish or stress causes the capillaries in the sweat glands to rupture, mingling blood with perspiration. This is not a metaphor. This is the physical, medical, observable result of the pressure he is under. The olive press of Gethsemane is now literally pressing the lifeblood out of him before a single thorn has touched his head or a single scourge has touched his back. The anguish in his soul is so profound that it is tearing his physical body apart. This is the Incarnation under maximum duress. His body, his perfect human body, is beginning to break down under the sheer weight of the spiritual reality he is facing. He is warring with principalities and powers. He is contemplating the bearing of all human sin, and he is recoiling from the imminent separation from the Father. This spiritual pressure creates a psychological pressure so immense that it manifests physically. This is the ultimate testament to the reality of his humanity and the reality of his struggle. He is not play acting. He is not a god, merely pretending to be human. He is fully human, and his humanity is breaking under a weight it was never designed to bear, the weight of divine wrath. This blood sweat is the first leakage of the atonement, the first drops of the blood that will cleanse the world, squeezed out of him not by Roman soldiers, but by the will of his own Father and his own choice of obedience. It is a terrifying, holy sight, unseen by any human eye, witnessed only by the angel and the silent, watching Father. Let us pause and consider the silence of the Father. Throughout this agonizing, threefold prayer, the heavens are brass. The Son, in his moment of most profound need, asks for a different way, and the answer that comes back is a resounding, terrible silence. The plan will not change. The cup will not pass. This silence is the very heart of the Father's own suffering. It is the silence of perfect love upholding perfect justice. The Father could have saved him. Omnipotence had 1,000 other ways to manifest power. But omnipotence, bound by the integrity of its own holy character, had only one way to enact redemption. Sin is not a trifle to be waved away. It is a cosmic treason that demands death. The Father's holiness required the penalty to be paid, and his love provided the sacrifice, his own Son. The silence in Gethsemane is the awful, necessary prelude to the cry on the cross. The Father is already, in this moment, beginning to turn his face away, to prepare for the moment when he will make his Son, who knew no sin, to be sin. The silence is not absence. It is the sound of the Father's own will being done, a will that costs him the agony of his Son. This is the severe mercy of God. He will not spare his Son, so that he can spare us. He will not provide an escape for the shepherd, so that he can provide an escape for the sheep. The Father's silence is the affirmation that the mission is necessary and that the price is non-negotiable. Jesus, in the garden, is learning the full cost of that silence. He is learning that obedience means walking into the void of the Father's judgment, armed only with the faith that the Father is still good, still just, and that his will is, in the end, perfect. The silence is the anvil, and the Son's prayer is the hammer, and together they are forging the new covenant. The battle, then, is truly in the garden. The cross, as horrific and central as it is the public execution of a verdict that was decided here, in private in the dark. The cross is the physical manifestation of the spiritual surrender that happens in Gethsemane. It is in the garden that the will is tested and proven. It is here that the Son, with full knowledge of the price, says yes. Had he said no in the garden, there would have been no cross. He could have called down legions of angels, not to strengthen him, but to rescue him, and he would have returned to heaven, and humanity would have been eternally lost. The entire plan of salvation balanced on the knife edge of his will in that moment. The temptation was not to sin, but to choose a good, self-preservation, unbroken fellowship over the Father's perfect, the agony of redemption. This is the ultimate temptation, to use divine power to avoid the very human suffering that was the path to glory. He faces this temptation, and he conquers it, not with a flash of power, but with a whisper of submission. Your will be done. This is the victory. What follows, the betrayal, the arrest, the sham trials, the scourging, the crucifixion, is the inevitable, terrible, and glorious consequence of the victory won in the garden. He walks out of Gethsemane no longer in agony over the if, but in settled purpose for the now. He has passed the test. He has been pressed, and only pure obedience has come forth. He is now ready to be handed over, to be crushed completely, so that the oil of salvation might flow to the world. This moment is the great reversal of history. We must see this garden against the backdrop of that first garden. In Eden, we had the first Adam, a man created in perfection, in a perfect environment, with one simple prohibition. He was tested, and he chose his own will over the Father's. He chose self-assertion. He distrusted the Father's goodness, grasped for equality, and in his disobedience, he plunged humanity and all of creation into sin, death, and separation. The consequences of "my will be done" were catastrophic. Now, in Gethsemane, a garden of darkness, of suffering, of graves, the second Adam stands. He is not in a place of pristine perfection, but in a place of agonizing pressure. His test is not a simple prohibition, but an appalling command to drink the cup of all the sin that began in that first garden. And what is his choice? In the face of a temptation infinitely more powerful than the first, he chooses not his own will, but the Father's. He chooses self-surrender. He trusts the Father's goodness even when the Father's will demands his own destruction. Where the first Adam grasped, the second Adam lets go. Where the first Adam disobeyed, the second Adam obeys, even to the point of death. Gethsemane is the undoing of Eden. It is the precise and painful antidote to the poison of self-will that has infected the human race. This obedience, this divine surrender, is the act that reclaims what was lost. He is rewriting the human story, demonstrating a new kind of humanity, one whose greatness is found not in independence, but in perfect, faithful, costly dependence on the Father. This, then, becomes the paradigm for all true prayer, especially prayer in the midst of suffering. Gethsemane is not just an event we observe, it is a school where we learn. He has given us the anatomy of prayer under pressure. It begins with Abba, Father. It starts with relationship, with the intimacy of a child, even when that child is in terror. We do not approach God as a distant force, but as our Father. Then, it proceeds with raw honesty. If it is possible, take this cup. We are given permission to not want the suffering. We are allowed to despise the pain, to name the fear, to ask for deliverance. God is not glorified by our stoic pretense that we are not breaking. He is glorified by our honesty, by our willingness to bring our broken, terrified, unwilling hearts to Him. We do not need to clean ourselves up before we pray. We can fall on our faces, with the dirt and the blood sweat, and tell the unvarnished truth about our desires. But the prayer cannot end there. Honesty is the path, not the destination. The destination must always be submission. The prayer that begins with "my will" must, through the agonizing press of faith, arrive at "your will." This is the great transaction. This is the prayer that aligns us with reality, that strengthens us for the battle, that ultimately brings peace, not by changing our circumstances, to by changing us. He shows us that this is a process, a repetition. We must return to the prayer again and again, wrestling until our will yields. It is in this twofold movement, honest petition and ultimate submission, that we find the strength to drink the cups the Father has assigned to us, trusting that His will, however painful, is ultimately good, just, and redemptive. We must also see in this moment the profound loneliness of the divine purpose. He was, in a way we can never fully comprehend, completely and utterly alone. He brought His friends, and they slept. He cried out to His Father, and His Father was silent. This isolation is a core component of His atoning work. He had to be stripped of all support, both human and divine, so that He could be the sole, sufficient sacrifice. Human comfort, had He received it, would have diluted the purity of His solitary burden. He had to tread the winepress alone. This loneliness is the price of leadership. It is the cost of being the pioneer of our salvation. He is the one who goes first, who cuts the path through the jungle of sin and death, and He must do it by Himself. His disciples, in their sleeping weakness, represent the total inability of humanity to contribute to its own salvation. We are not just unwilling, we are unable. We are asleep, heavy-eyed, spiritually comatose. We cannot even stay awake for Him, much less die for Him or with Him. His solitude in the garden is a stark portrait of our helplessness. He is the only one who can do this. All our best intentions, our boasts of loyalty, our willing spirits, crumble into the dust of our weak flesh. He must be the singular champion. This is not a team effort. This is a substitution. He is alone, so that we, who were alone in our sin, might be brought into eternal fellowship. His isolation in Gethsemane is the price he pays to ensure that we, his followers, will never, in the ultimate sense, be alone again. He endures the silence of the Father so that we might hear the Father's eternal welcome home. After the third prayer, the battle is finished. The decision is sealed. He rises from the ground, but this time, he is a different man. The agony has not vanished, but the internal conflict has. He is now pure resolve. He walks back to his disciples, and the scene is the same. They are still sleeping, but his words to them are completely different. The tone has shifted from agonized pleading to sovereign command. "Are you still sleeping and resting?" he asks. It is a question that is not a question. It's a statement of fact, tinged with a divine, knowing irony. Enough. One word. It's over. The time for watching is past. The time for prayer is over. The time for decision is over. The hour has not just come. It is here. The hour has come, he states. This is the kairos, the appointed time, the hinge point of all history toward which all the prophecies have been pointing. This is the moment. The passive agony of the garden is now transitioning to the active mission of the cross. The surrender of his will now fuels the action of his body. He is no longer prostrate on the ground. He is standing, ready to move, ready to meet his fate. He is in complete control. He is not a victim about to be captured. He is a king about to ascend his throne, though it is a throne of thorns. This is the fruit of surrender. It does not lead to passivity. It leads to purposeful, courageous action. He has faced the worst in the spiritual realm, and now he is prepared to face the worst in the physical. His prayer has given him not an escape, but a sword. He is ready, and then he gives the diagnosis of the hour, a statement of terrible, triumphant fact. Look, the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. He speaks of himself in the third person, the Son of Man, his favorite title, identifying him with humanity and with the prophetic, glorious figure from Daniel's vision. He is being delivered, or betrayed. The word is paradidomi. It is the same word used for Judas's act of betrayal. But here, Jesus implies a different betrayal. He is not just being delivered by Judas, he is being delivered by the Father. This is the plan. This is the fulfillment of the prayer. His surrender to the Father's will means the Father now gives him over to the hands of sinful men. This is the terrifying cost of "your will be done." God is using the wicked act of Judas, the malice of the priests, and the brutality of the Romans to accomplish his holy and redemptive purpose. He sees the hand of his Father behind the hand of his betrayer. This perspective is what gives him his profound, unshakable peace. He is not a casualty of human politics. He is the centerpiece of a divine plan. He is being delivered so that we might be delivered. He is being handed over to sinners so that sinners might be handed over to righteousness. This is the great exchange, and it begins now. He is not surprised. He is not trapped. He is fulfilling the script that was written before the foundation of the world. He sees it all with perfect, heartbreaking clarity. With the statement of his delivery still in the air, he issues a new command. The old command was sit, stay, watch. It was a command for stillness, for prayer, for proximity. But that time is over. The new command is one of motion, of engagement, of mission. Rise. Let us go. It is a command of staggering courage. He is not saying run or hide. He is saying rise. Get up from your sleep. Get up from your failure. And let us go. Where? Not away from the danger, but toward it. He is going to meet his betrayer head-on. He is going to walk willingly into the arms of the armed guard. This is the active component of his surrender. His submission to the Father's will is not a passive collapse. It is the fuel for his courageous advance. He is leading his disciples, who have failed him at every turn, out of the garden of his agony and onto the road of his sacrifice. He is bringing them with him, even in their weakness. He is the shepherd, and even in his march to the slaughter, he is still gathering his scattered, sleeping sheep. Rise. Let us go, is the call to the church for all time. It is the call to leave our places of comfort, our moments of fearful prayer, and to move out into the world, to face the darkness, to engage the mission, armed with a will that has been surrendered to the will of God. It is the call to follow Him, even when the path leads directly into the hands of the enemy, trusting that it is the very path the Father has ordained. And as the words, "Let us go," leave his lips, he looks up and he says, with a calm that is more terrifying than any army, "Here comes my betrayer." He is not surprised. He is not cornered. He is waiting. He sees the flicker of torches through the ancient olive trees. He hears the clank of armor and the murmur of the crowd. And he does not flinch. The man who is on his face, sweating blood, is now on his feet, facing his enemy with total sovereignty. The anatomy of his surrender is complete, and it has produced not a victim, but a victor. He has prayed through the terror. He has aligned his will. He has accepted the cup. He has received the Father's strength. And now he stands. He is the master of the moment. He is the one in charge, even as he is about to be bound. This is the power that Gethsemane gives. It is the power of a surrendered will. He has defeated the internal enemy, the temptation to disobey, and now the external enemy holds no terror for him. He will go to Judas. He will call him friend. He will silence Peter's sword. He will heal the servant's ear. He will stand in silent majesty before priests and governors. He will march to the cross. And he will do it all because, in the dark of the garden, alone, he wrestled with God and man, and he prevailed, not by fighting, but by surrendering. The press has done its work, and the precious oil of obedience is ready to be poured out for the healing of the nations. The prayer is over. The sacrifice begins. The journey from the upper room to the garden was a descent into the press, and the prayer was the application of that pressure. What we have witnessed is the internal mechanics of salvation, the agonizing alignment of the Son's human will with the Father's divine plan. This is the unseen battle that made the public victory of the cross possible. He has faced the full, unadulterated horror of what he must do, and he has chosen it. He has looked at the cup, filled with the wrath of God and the sin of the world, and he has extended his hand to take it. This act of surrender is not a single moment, but a process, a threefold wrestling match that moves from the petition for escape to the acceptance of necessity and, finally, to the settled resolve of obedience. He has modeled for us a new way to be human, a way that finds its ultimate strength not in self-assertion but in self-submission to a perfect and loving, though often painful, will. He has demonstrated that true prayer is not a tool to change God's mind, but the furnace in which God forges our will to match His. The disciples' failure, their profound and repeated sleep, serves only to highlight His solitary achievement. He alone could do this. He had to be stripped of all human comfort, to be left with nothing but the naked will of the Father, to show that our salvation rests on His obedience alone, not on any contribution from our weak and sleeping flesh. The sweat of blood was the physical evidence of this spiritual war. The press of Gethsemane was not metaphorical. It was so real that it began to squeeze the very life from his body before his enemies ever laid a hand on him. This was the cost of saying yes. The angel's arrival was not to provide an escape route, but to provide the strength to endure the chosen path. This is the economy of grace, not the removal of the burden, but the supernatural strength to carry it. The Father's silence to the prayer for deliverance was his loudest yes to the plan of redemption. It was the sound of holy love refusing to compromise with sin, even at the cost of his own Son. This garden scene is the great reversal of Eden. Where the first Adam chose his will and brought death, the second Adam chose the Father's will and purchased life. He has defeated the temptation to use his power for his own comfort and has instead wielded his power to walk the path of ultimate discomfort. This is the heart of the gospel. This is the anatomy of divine love. It is not a feeling, it is a choice. It is an act of will, a decision to move toward the pain for the sake of the joy set before him. And now, he rises. The prayer is finished. The internal struggle is over, and the external mission begins. His words change from "watch with me" to "rise, let us go." The transition is absolute. He moves from passive agony to active, courageous obedience. He is not being taken, he is going. He is not a victim being dragged to slaughter. He is the high priest walking purposefully into the Holy of Holies, offering himself as the one, perfect sacrifice. His surrender has not made him weak, it has made him invincible. What can human power do to a man who has already surrendered his will to the ultimate power? What can the fear of death do to a man who has already embraced a death far worse, the spiritual death of bearing the world's sin? He faces the approaching torches, the swords, and the betrayer's kiss with a sovereignty that is stunning. He is in complete command of his own arrest. This is the peace that passes all understanding, a peace born not from easy circumstances, but from a will that is perfectly and painfully aligned with the will of God. Gethsemane is the blueprint for our own suffering. It gives us permission for honesty and the command for submission. It shows us that in the dark, on the ground, in the press, when heaven is silent and our friends are asleep, the only path forward is the one He carved for us. Abba, Father, your will be done. This surrender is the most powerful force in the universe. It is the force that absorbed all the darkness of humanity and turned it into light. It is the force that took the grave and turned it into a garden. It is the force that took the cross, an instrument of torture, and turned it into the symbol of hope. It is the force that redeems, restores, and renews all things. The prayer in Gethsemane is the quiet engine of our salvation. It is the unseen root of the tree of life. He has done it. He has made the choice. He has passed the test. He has been pressed but not crushed. He has been overwhelmed with sorrow, but he has not been overcome by it. He has been to the very brink of hell, and he has not turned back. He is now ready. He has conquered his own will, and in doing so, he has conquered sin and death forever. The anatomy of surrender is this. It is honest, it is agonizing, it is repetitive, it is solitary, and it is ultimately, gloriously, triumphant. He steps out of the shadows of the olive trees to meet his betrayer, his face set like flint toward Jerusalem, his heart at perfect, terrible peace. He is going to finish what he started, and nothing in heaven or on earth can stop him now that we often rush past this moment. We rush to the drama of the trial, the spectacle of the cross, and the triumph of the resurrection. But we must not. We must stay here, in the dark, with him. We must watch, even if we are prone to sleep. We must listen to this prayer. Because if the cross is the what of our salvation, Gethsemane is the how. It is how he was able to endure it. It is the internal, spiritual victory that secured the external, historical one. This is the moment where the Son of God, in his full and vulnerable humanity, stared into the cup of our sin and did not refuse it. This is the pivot of all eternity. Every time we are faced with a choice between our will and the Father's, we are standing at the edge of our own small Gethsemane. We are invited to follow his path, to be honest about our fear, to be relentless in our prayer, and to be courageous in our surrender. He has shown us that the Father can be trusted, even when his will leads through the press. He has shown us that there is angelic strength available for the journey. He has shown us that true power is not found in controlling our destiny, but in surrendering it to the one who controls all things. The prayer in Gethsemane is not just a story we read. It is an invitation we receive. It is an invitation to lay down our own wills, to take up our own crosses, and to find that in losing our life for his sake, we truly find it for the first time. The garden is empty now. The disciples have scattered. The soldiers have marched their prisoner away. But the echo of the prayer remains. Not my will, but yours. This is the sentence that defeated darkness. This is the logic that reversed the fall. This is the generative power that fuels the new creation. It is the most costly and the most powerful sentence ever spoken. It is the foundation of our hope. Because he said yes in the garden, the Father could say yes to us. Because he drank the cup of wrath, we can drink the cup of salvation. Because he was forsaken, we are adopted. The surrender in Gethsemane was not a defeat. It was the ultimate victory. It was the moment the warrior king won the war, not with a sword, but with his will. It was the anatomy of divine surrender, and it has changed everything forever. He has paid the price, he has made the choice, and he has shown us the way. The only question that remains is, will we rise and will we follow? And so, he steps forward into the torchlight, a solitary figure of perfect calm amidst a chaotic rabble. The man who had been prostrate on the ground now stands as the only stable point in a tilting world. The betrayer approaches, and the signal is given, a kiss, the ancient gesture of intimacy, now corrupted into the ultimate tool of treachery. This is the first wave of the cup's contents washing over him. It is the filth of human hypocrisy, the poison of friendship turned to malice. And how does the surrendered will respond? Not with a curse, not with a recoiling in anger, but with a question of devastating sadness. Friend, do what you came for. He calls him friend. In this one word, we see the anatomy of divine surrender in full operation. His surrender to the Father's will has not dehumanized him. It has perfected his capacity for love, even toward his destroyer. He is so secure in the Father's plan that he can face his betrayer without hatred. He does not resist. He does not argue. He does not flinch from the polluted kiss. He accepts it, absorbs its venom, and in doing so, he exposes it for what it is. This is not weakness. This is a strength the world cannot understand. It is the strength of a man who has already died to his own will in the garden, and who now faces his physical death as a mere formality. He is in complete control, not of the circumstances, but of his response. The kiss of Judas is the first physical contact of the Passion, and Jesus meets it with the resolved peace he forged in his solitary prayer. He is actively, willingly, stepping into the role of the sacrifice. He is the Lamb, and he does not shrink from the hand that leads him to the slaughter. This moment is a profound display of power, the power of a will perfectly aligned with God, a will that can absorb the worst of human evil without being defiled by it, or even reacting in kind. He is already operating from a place of victory, a victory secured in the dark, under the olive trees. In that very moment, the weak flesh of the disciples, which had failed in sleep, now fails in action. Peter, the rock, driven by that willing but misguided spirit, does what the flesh always does. It resorts to violence. He draws a sword and cuts off the ear of the high priest's servant. It is the human response to a divine crisis. It is our attempt to fix the situation, to fight for God, to use the weapons of this world to defend the kingdom of heaven. It is a gesture of loyalty, but it is a gesture of profound misunderstanding. Peter is still trying to prevent the cup. He is still fighting the very will that his master has just surrendered to. And Jesus' response is immediate and definitive. He stops him. "Put your sword back in its place," he commands. And then he gives the reason, a reason that echoes from the garden. "Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" He publicly affirms his Gethsemane choice. He rebukes Peter's violence, not just because it is futile, but because it is in direct opposition to the Father's plan. He is not here to be a military victor. He is here to be a sacrificial victim. And then, in an act of staggering grace, he reaches out and touches the wounded servant, Malchus, and heals him. This is the anatomy of surrender in action. His surrendered will does not just endure the evil, it actively redeems the collateral damage caused by his own followers. In the very act of being arrested, he performs a miracle of restoration. He is showing them, and us, that the kingdom he is inaugurating does not advance by the sword, but by the cross. It does not conquer by inflicting wounds, but by healing them. His hands, which will soon be bound, perform one last act of free grace. He is teaching, even now, that the power of his kingdom is found in the very surrender that Peter finds so unthinkable. He chooses the cup, and in that choice, he silences the sword forever. He then turns to the armed guard, the priests, and the elders who have come for him. He breaks his silence to make one thing clear: this is not a capture, it is an appointment. "Am I leading a rebellion," he asks, "that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me?" He exposes the absurdity of their show of force. "Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. He points out their cowardice. They acted in the light of day, but they came for him in the dark, under the cover of night, as if he were a common criminal. He is stripping them of their pretense. He is showing them that their power is an illusion. And then, he gives them the true reason for this moment, a reason that goes far beyond their petty malice. But this is your hour, he concedes, when darkness reigns. He acknowledges the temporary, permitted authority of evil. But even in this, he is in control because he adds that all this is happening so that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled. He is placing his arrest, his capture, squarely within the framework of the divine script. He is the one fulfilling prophecy. They are not his captors. They are his instruments. They are, unwittingly, playing their part in the grand narrative of salvation that the Father has written. He is not a victim of their plot. He is the master of their story. This profound, sovereign perspective is the direct result of his prayer. Because he has already surrendered to the Father's script in the garden, he can now read his lines with perfect, divine confidence, even as the plot turns against him. He is not trapped by fate. He is fulfilling destiny. He is the author, and he is willingly writing himself into the most painful part of the story to ensure its glorious conclusion. And what of the disciples? The prophecy he gave them, fueled by his knowledge of their weak flesh, comes to pass in an instant. Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. All of them, not just the 8, but the inner circle, Peter, James, and John, the ones he had begged to watch with him, the ones who had seen his glory and his agony, they run. They melt into the darkness from which the soldiers came. This is the final, physical fulfillment of the isolation he accepted in the garden. His human support system, which he had craved and which had failed him in sleep, now fails him in consciousness. He is left completely, visibly, physically alone, surrounded by his enemies. The solitude he experienced in his prayer is now his public reality. He is the solitary champion, the shepherd smitten, and the sheep scattered. This abandonment is part of the cup. It is the bitterness of human infidelity, the pain of being deserted by those you love in your hour of greatest need. And yet he stands. He does not call them back. He does not despair. He had already faced this reality on his knees. Their flight is just the confirmation of what he had already come to terms with. He must do this alone. Our salvation is so costly, so total, that no human being could even stand near it, let alone contribute to it. We are the sleepers. We are the runners. He is the stander. He is the one who remains. His surrender to the Father's will included this, the complete failure of his friends. He accepted this part of the cup, too, and so he stands in silent majesty, the only man left, ready to face what comes next, alone. He is bound. The hands that healed the servant's ear are now tied with ropes. The man who is the very freedom of God is now a captive. And he is led, not in a dignified procession, but in a criminal's march, back across the Kidron Valley, up the hill to the palace of the high priest, Annas, and then to Caiaphas. This is the rise, let us go, in its terrible motion. This is the path his surrendered will has chosen. Every step is an act of obedience. He is walking willingly into the den of his accusers. The trial that follows is a mockery of justice. It is a sham, held in the dead of night, a desperate, illegal attempt to manufacture a charge. False witnesses are brought forward, but their stories are inconsistent. They cannot agree. The entire system of human justice, even religious justice, is shown to be utterly corrupt. And what is his response to the lies? What is his defense? Silence. The man who prayed with such agonizing honesty in the garden now says nothing. This is the silence of the Lamb, the silence of a surrendered will. He has no defense to offer because he is not there to defend himself. He is there to accomplish the Father's will. His silence is not the silence of guilt. It is the silence of purpose. He is not engaging in their game. He is not playing by their rules. He has already had his trial in Gethsemane, and he has already accepted the verdict. Their proceedings are a meaningless play, and he is the only one who knows the ending. His silence is more powerful than any speech. It is the sound of his submission. It is the sound of the cup being raised to his lips.
He will not argue.
He will not plead. He will simply, willingly, drink. The high priest, Caiaphas, grows increasingly desperate. The false witnesses have failed. The silent prisoner gives him nothing. So he moves from fabrication to a direct, solemn adjuration. He places Jesus under oath. I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. This is the central question of all history, asked by his mortal enemy in a moment of profound, unintended irony. The silence is now broken. The surrendered will is not a will to non-existence. It is a will to perfect obedience, and obedience now requires testimony. He has been silent in the face of lies about himself, but he will not be silent in the face of the truth about his Father. He answers. You have said so, he replies, a way of saying, yes, it is as you have said. And then he adds more, a declaration that seals his own death warrant but also proclaims his ultimate victory. But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. In his moment of utter humiliation, bound, sleepless, and on trial for his life, he makes the most staggering claim of divinity. He tells them that their prisoner is, in fact, their judge. He is the glorious Son of Man from Daniel's vision, the one who will receive all authority and power. This is not a defense. It is a verdict. He is not trying to save his life. He is proclaiming his identity. This is the ultimate fruit of Gethsemane. His perfect surrender to the Father's will for his humiliation gives him the perfect authority to proclaim his divine glory. He has emptied himself, and so the Father is now glorifying him, even through his own words. The high priest tears his robes, crying blasphemy. He has the excuse he needs. The trial is over. The verdict is death. And Jesus has willingly supplied the evidence, the truth, that condemns him. The verdict of blasphemy unleashes the pent-up hatred of the assembly. The cup, which he saw in the garden, is now being physically proffered. They begin to spit in his face. Spitting, an act of utter contempt, of profound personal defilement. They're spitting on the face of God.
And he takes it.
This is the filth of our sin, our contempt, our rebellion, and he is allowing it to cover him. They strike him with their fists. They cover his face and mock him. Prophesy to us, Messiah. Who hit you? They are mocking the very identity he just claimed. The surrendered will means he endures this. He who could call legions of angels, who just healed a man with a touch, now allows his creatures to defile and brutalize him. This is the physical dimension of the Gethsemane agony. He is becoming sin for us. He is absorbing our venom. He is not just taking our punishment. He is taking our insults. He is bearing our shame. The strong hands of the guards, the defiling spit of the priests, this is the press of Gethsemane made physical. The spiritual pressure that produced blood sweat is now replaced by the physical pressure of fists and open hands. And his response is the same: silence. He endures. He has willed this. He has accepted this. This is the cup. He is drinking it. Every blow, every drop of spittle, is a sip of the potion he agreed to in the garden. He is not a passive victim. He is an active participant in his own sacrifice, standing in silent, willed endurance as the world pours its hatred onto him. This is the love that staggers the imagination, a love that chose this, for us. And while this divine surrender is happening inside the palace, the human failure is reaching its climax outside. Peter, the rock, the one who had followed at a distance, is now in the courtyard, warming himself by the fire of the enemy. He is no longer sleeping from sorrow. He is cowering in fear. 3 times he is challenged, identified as a follower. 3 times he denies it. The progression is tragic. A simple denial, then a denial with an oath, and finally, a denial with curses. He invokes God's name to curse and to swear that he does not even know the man who, at that very moment, is claiming to be the Son of God. This is the flesh in its most potent, self-preserving weakness. The willing spirit has evaporated in the heat of the moment. And then the rooster crows. The sound cuts through the night, a signal of his profound failure. And the story tells us that Jesus, being led from one place to another, turned and looked straight at Peter. It is a look, not of anger, not of condemnation. It is the look of the surrendered Savior, the look of sad, knowing love. It is the look that says, I knew this would happen. This is why I am here. Peter remembers his master's words, and he goes out and weeps bitterly. This juxtaposition is the core of the gospel. Inside, the perfect, divine surrender of the Son, who obeys to the point of death. Outside, the total, human failure of the best of his followers. Peter's denial is the final proof that our salvation could not depend on us. It had to depend on him alone. His surrender in Gethsemane was not just for his own obedience, but to cover our inevitable denials. The night of the religious trial ends, and the morning brings the political trial. The Jewish leaders, having condemned him for blasphemy, now need the Roman state to execute him. They lead him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Their charge changes. They do not accuse him of blasphemy. They accuse him of treason, of opposing Caesar, of claiming to be a king. It is a cynical, political manipulation. And Pilate, a man of the world, asks him the pragmatic question, Are you the king of the Jews? Jesus' answer is profound, and it flows directly from his Gethsemane surrender. My kingdom is not of this world, he states. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest. He is explicitly referencing the garden. He is telling Pilate that the reason he is standing there, bound and captive, is because he chose not to fight. He chose not to call the legions of angels. His surrender was a deliberate rejection of worldly power, of the sword, of the very kind of kingdom that Pilate understands. He is a king, yes, but of a different order. His kingship was established not through conquest, but through submission. His throne is not a seat of power, but a cross of sacrifice. He is explaining the very anatomy of his surrender to the man who holds his life in his hands. He is testifying that his entire mission is based on a different kind of power, a power that comes from obedience to the Father, a power that the world sees as weakness. Pilate, in his famous, cynical reply, "What is truth?" stands face to face with truth itself and cannot recognize it because it is clothed in the weakness of surrender. Pilate, though cynical, is a politician. He can find no fault in this man. He senses the political trap set by the priests and the innocence of the prisoner. He tries to release him. He sends him to Herod, who mocks him and sends him back. Pilate is looking for an escape, a way to avoid making a decision. He is the opposite of Jesus in the garden. Where Jesus agonized to find the Father's will and do it, Pilate agonizes to find the crowd's will and appease it, to protect his own position. He is a man governed by the weak flesh of political expediency. He cannot find the will to do what is right. Jesus, in contrast, stands in perfect, silent resolve, having already done the agonizing work of his will. The contrast is stark. The man with all the political power is weak, indecisive, and fearful. The man with no power, bound and condemned, is strong, resolved, and sovereign. He has a peace Pilate cannot comprehend, because it was forged in a battle Pilate has never fought. Jesus' Gethsemane prayer, "Your will be done," has made him the most powerful man in the room, and Pilate, who lives by "my will be done," is the most pathetic. The prisoner is truly the judge, and the judge is the prisoner of his own fear. Pilate makes one last, desperate attempt to avoid responsibility. He uses the custom of the Passover to offer the crowd a choice. He will release one prisoner. He gives them Barabbas, a man described as a murderer, an insurrectionist, a man who had taken up the sword against Rome. He offers them Barabbas, the man of violence, or Jesus, the man of surrender. He offers them the man who takes life, or the man who gives life. The choice is a perfect allegory for humanity. And the crowd, stirred up by the priests, makes the choice that the human heart has always made. "Not this man, but Barabbas," they scream. "Crucify him." They choose the sword over the cross. They choose the revolutionary over the redeemer. They choose the man who embodies their own violent, self-willed flesh over the man who embodies the humble, surrendered will of God. This is the world's final verdict on divine love. They prefer a murderer to their maker. And Jesus stands, silent, accepting their choice. He had already accepted this in the garden. This is part of the cup. He will be numbered with the transgressors. He will be rejected so that the rejected might be accepted. He will be condemned so that the condemned, like Barabbas and like us, might go free. The exchange is made. The guilty man walks, and the innocent man is led away to be prepared for the cross. Pilate's surrender to the crowd means Jesus is handed over to the soldiers. The governor, having declared him innocent, now commands him to be scourged. This is the pressing of Gethsemane made appallingly literal. The flagrum, a Roman whip embedded with bone and metal, is designed to tear flesh from bone. This is the physical, visceral start of the wrath-bearing. The spiritual agony that caused blood sweat is now met with a physical agony that tears his body apart. This is the price of "your will be done." He is not just dying for us, he is being shredded for us. He is enduring the full, calculated, systematic brutality of which humanity is capable. And he does it silently, just as he prayed. Every lash is a stripe by which we are healed. Every tear in his flesh is a payment for the sin of our own weak flesh. He is absorbing the violence of the world into his own body. He who refused the sword must now endure the whip. This is the cup in all its physical horror. He is drinking it. He is not fighting back. He is not calling on the Father for deliverance. He has already settled that account. He is simply, powerfully enduring. His surrendered will is the only thing holding his body together under the assault. It is a strength that is not of this world, a strength forged in the agony of his prayer. After the scourging, the soldiers, in their bored cruelty, engage in a game. They take this bloody, lacerated figure, and they mock his kingship. They weave a crown from thorns, sharp, piercing, and they press it into his scalp. This is the antithesis of the crown of glory. It is the crown of the curse, the thorns that the ground brought forth in Eden. He is taking the curse upon his own head. They drape a purple robe, a mockery of royalty, over his bleeding back. The cheap fabric sticks to his open wounds. They put a reed, a symbol of weakness, in his hand as a scepter. And they bow before him in mock homage. "Hail, King of the Jews!" And then they spit on him, just as the priests had done. They take the reed from his hand and strike him on the head with it, driving the thorns deeper. This is the world's response to the king who surrendered. His kingdom is not of this world, so this world heaps all its contempt upon him.
And he takes it. E Honduras Italia.
His Gethsemane prayer, "Your will be done," means he will be the kind of king the Father has ordained, a king of suffering, a king whose coronation is humiliation, whose throne is a cross, whose crown is pain. He is fully embodying the role he accepted. He is the suffering servant, marred beyond human recognition, yet even in this, he is more a king than Caesar could ever be, for he is reigning over sin and death through his absolute, divine surrender. Pilate brings him out one last time, a grotesque spectacle of broken humanity. He presents him to the crowd, hoping this pathetic sight will satisfy their bloodlust. "Ecce homo," he declares. "Behold the man." It is a moment of profound, unintentional prophecy. This is the man. This is the second Adam, the true man, the image of God not in pristine glory, but in marred, surrendered love. This is what true humanity, in perfect obedience to the Father, looks like in a fallen world. It looks like this, bloody, crowned with thorns, silent and resolved. This is the man who emerged from the garden, having conquered his own will. This is the man who faced the horror of the cup and did not turn away. Pilate thinks he is showing them a victim, a warning. But the eyes of faith see a victor, a champion. This is the man who is undoing the failure of the first man. This is the man who is absorbing all our rebellion, all our violence, all our mockery into his own body. Behold the man. This is the pinnacle of human existence, not self-assertion, but total, self-giving surrender to the will of God. The crowd, however, sees only weakness. Their cries for crucifixion only intensify. They have not seen the battle in the garden. They cannot see the strength hidden beneath the wounds. They see a failure and they demand his death. The sentence is given. Pilate washes his hands, a futile gesture of self-absolution, and hands him over to be crucified. The rise, let us go from the garden now becomes the final, agonizing walk. He is given his cross, the horizontal beam, to carry. He, who carries the weight of the world's sin, is now given the wooden instrument of his own execution. He begins to walk the Via Dolorosa, the way of sorrows. This is the physical journey of your will be done. Every step is a choice, an act of obedience. The man who fell on his face in the garden now stumbles on the pavement under the weight of the wood. His body, already savaged by the scourging, begins to fail. The flesh is weak, even his perfect flesh. And in a moment of desperate necessity, the soldiers compel a man from the crowd, Simon of Cyrene, to carry the cross for him. This is not a contradiction of his solitary burden, but a picture of it. Even with this small help, the journey is his. Simon carries the wood, but Jesus carries the curse on the wood. He is still alone in the essential task. But it is a small, poignant picture of the church that will follow. The call for us to take up our cross and follow him. We do not bear the sin, but we are invited to walk the path of surrender with him. He stumbles, he falls, but he continues, his will fixed, his purpose set. He is going to the place of the skull. He is going to finish what he started in the garden. He arrives at Golgotha, the place of the skull, the place of death. This is the final destination of his surrendered will. They offer him wine mixed with myrrh, a narcotic, a painkiller, and he refuses it. This is a critical detail. The man who asked, "If it is possible, let this cup pass," now refuses the one cup that would make it easier. He will not have his senses dulled. He will not be numbed. He has chosen to drink the Father's cup, and he will drink it to the dregs, with his eyes open, his mind clear. He will feel the full, unmitigated agony of it all. This is the totality of his surrender. He will not shrink from any part of the payment. He is stripped of his clothes, his last earthly possession, the final humiliation. They divide his garments, gambling for his seamless robe, fulfilling another prophecy. He is left with nothing. He is utterly exposed, utterly vulnerable. And then they lay him down on the wood, stretch out his arms, and drive the iron spikes through his wrists and his feet. The sound of the hammer is the sound of the Gethsemane prayer being nailed into the history of the world. He is fastened to the will of the Father. He is the sacrifice, bound to the altar. And he does not fight. He has willed this. He is here on purpose. They raise the cross. It drops into its socket in the earth with a jarring thud, sending waves of excruciating pain through his body. He is suspended between heaven and earth, a spectacle for all, the king on his throne of pain. And from this place of ultimate agony, the first fruit of his long-prayed-for surrender blossoms.
He speaks.
And his first word is not a curse, not a cry of injustice, but a prayer. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This is the Gethsemane prayer turned outward. His perfect submission to the Father's will has created in him a perfect love for his enemies. He is not just enduring their evil, he is atoning for it in real time. He is pleading for the very soldiers who nailed him there, for the priests who mocked him, for the crowd that screamed for his death. This is the cup. He is drinking their hatred, and he is breathing out forgiveness. This is the victory. This is the power of the surrendered will. It does not just accept the pain, it transfigures it into grace. He is doing the very thing he came to do. He is being the sacrifice. He is being the high priest. He is fulfilling the will of the Father, which is not just judgment, but the creation of a path for forgiveness, a path paved by his own blood. The mockery continues, even here. The rulers sneer. He saved others. Let him save himself, if he is God's Messiah, the chosen one. The soldiers mock him, and one of the criminals crucified beside him joins in. "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." It is the Gethsemane temptation, hurled at him again in public. Let this cup pass. Save yourself. Find another way. It is the voice of the world, the voice of the flesh, the voice of the devil. And his answer is the same as it was in the garden: silence. He will not save himself. Because he is the Messiah, he cannot save himself. To save himself would be to abandon the Father's will, to abandon us. His surrender holds. But then, the other criminal, in a moment of stunning faith, rebukes his companion and turns to Jesus. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He sees the king behind the thorns. He sees the kingdom behind the cross. And Jesus, the surrendered king, exercises his royal authority. Truly I tell you, he promises, today you will be with me in paradise. From the cross, he dispenses eternal life. His surrender in the garden was not an abdication of his power, it was the transformation of it. His power is now the power to forgive, the power to save, the power to open paradise to a dying thief. He is reigning, even from the tree he looks down. He sees his mother, Mary, standing near the cross, her heart pierced, just as had been prophesied. And he sees John, the beloved disciple, the only one of the inner circle who has returned. In the midst of his cosmic battle for the soul of the world, his surrendered will still operates with perfect, human love. He is fulfilling the Father's will, but he is not forgetting his earthly mother. Woman, here is your son, he says to her. And to John, here is your mother. It is an act of profound, tender care. He is creating a new family, a family of faith, born at the foot of the cross. He is ensuring his mother is cared for. His surrender to God does not annihilate his human relationships. It fulfills them. It sanctifies them. It places them within the new covenant he is forging. He is the perfect Son of God and the perfect Son of Mary, and he is faithful to both, even in his dying breaths. His Gethsemane surrender was not a rejection of his humanity, but the perfection of it. He is loving his Father with all his heart, and he is loving his neighbor, his mother, his friend, as himself, even as he is being executed. This is the fullness of the law, embodied in a dying man, and then the darkness comes. From the 6th hour to the 9th, darkness covers the whole land. This is not a normal eclipse. This is a cosmic sign. This is the physical manifestation of the spiritual reality he feared in the garden. The Father is turning his face away. The light of heaven is being extinguished. This is the cup. This is the separation. He is now entering the final, deepest, blackest part of the agony he prayed about. He is being made sin. He, the pure, spotless Son, is now clothed in the filthy rags of all human rebellion. And the Father, in his perfect holiness, cannot look. This is the loneliness he accepted in the garden, now made absolute. He is utterly, cosmically alone. He is in the outer darkness. The angelic strength is gone. The human comfort is gone. And now, the light of the Father's presence is gone. He is trapped in the abyss of our judgment. This is the price. This is the payment. This is the horror he saw in the cup, the horror that made him sweat blood. He is enduring it, alone, in the dark, for us. He is in the press, and the pressure is now infinite. From the depths of that infinite, terrifying darkness, he cries out. It is the cry that the garden prayer was designed to prevent, but which his surrender made inevitable. Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? This is the cry of the forsaken. This is the center of the atonement. This is the cup, drunk to its dregs. He is experiencing the absolute, logical, and just consequence of sin, separation from God. He is in hell for us. It is the only moment in all of eternity that the perfect union of the Trinity is broken. The Abba, Father, of the garden has become the my God, of the cross. The relationship is not broken, but the fellowship is. He is being treated as we deserve to be treated. And the why is not a question of confusion. It is a cry of dereliction. He knows why. He is quoting the Psalm of the cross. He is identifying himself as the one who endures this. But the knowing does not lessen the feeling. The agony is real. This is the ultimate cost of his Gethsemane prayer. Your will be done meant this. It meant this cry. It meant this forsakenness. It meant this infinite, spiritual agony. He has paid it. After that cry, the battle is over. The spiritual transaction is complete. He has drunk the cup of wrath to the bottom. All that remains is the physical finality. He speaks again, his voice now likely a parched whisper. I thirst. This is not a theological statement. It is a profound human, physical reality. The man who refused the painkiller now acknowledges his body's desperate need. The Gethsemane prayer was from a real, human man, and the death on the cross is a real, human death. He is the incarnate Son, and his humanity is real to the very end. They lift a sponge soaked in sour wine to his lips. He receives it. And then he speaks the word of triumph. Tetelestai. It is finished. One word. It means paid in full. The debt is cancelled. The work is done. The will of the Father, which he accepted in the garden, is now perfectly, completely, and eternally accomplished. The cup has been drunk. The battle has been won. The surrender is complete, and the purpose of that surrender is fulfilled. He has atoned for the sin of the world. He has satisfied the justice of God. He has overcome the power of darkness. It is finished, and now there is only one act left. He has finished his work for the Father. He has given his life for us. Now he gives his spirit to the Father. He cries out, this time not in agony, but in triumph and trust, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. The Gethsemane prayer, your will be done, comes full circle. It began with Abba, Father. It passed through the horror of my God, and it returns now to Father. He has been through the forsakenness and has come out the other side. He is now committing his spirit, his very being, back to the Father he trusted in the dark. This is the final act of surrender. It is not a passive sinking into death. It is an active, willed release. He is giving his life. They are not taking it from him. He has been in control this entire time, from the moment he said, rise, let us go, to this moment. He decides the time. He fulfills the mission. And having fulfilled it, he bows his head, and he breathes his last. He yields his spirit. The surrender is absolute. The sacrifice is complete at that exact moment. The barrier between God and humanity, the barrier he had just absorbed into his own body, is torn apart. The great veil in the temple, the massive curtain that separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies, is ripped in two, from top to bottom. This is the Father's immediate response. It is not torn from the bottom up, as a man would do it. It is torn from top to bottom, by the hand of God. The Gethsemane prayer, your will be done, has resulted in the ultimate it is done. The way is now open. The surrender of the Son has torn the veil. His forsakenness has purchased our access. We are no longer kept out by our sin. The blood of the sacrifice has been presented, and the way into the very presence of God is now open to all who come through him. The isolation he endured in the garden and on the cross has purchased our eternal fellowship. The silence of the Father has given way to an invitation for all the world to come in, and the first person to accept that invitation, the first to see it, is not a priest, not a disciple, but a Roman centurion. The soldier who had overseen the execution, a hardened man of the world, witnesses all of it. He sees the darkness. He feels the earthquake. But most of all, he has watched how Jesus died. He has seen the majesty in the mockery, the strength in the surrender, the forgiveness in the agony. He has witnessed a death unlike any he has ever seen. And this pagan, this instrument of empire, is the first to make the great confession. Truly, he says, this was the Son of God. The Gethsemane surrender, carried all the way to the cross, has the power to shatter the cynicism of the world. The display of divine love, in its most raw, weak, and surrendered form, is the very power of God unto salvation. It is the first fruit of the harvest. The king on the cross has just claimed his first subject, a Roman soldier. The victory of the garden is already beginning to ripple out into the world. His body is taken down from the cross. It is the body that knelt in the garden, the body that sweat blood, the body that was whipped and thorn-crowned and nailed. It is now a lifeless vessel. The surrender is so complete that it has led to this, a cold, dead body. He is placed in a borrowed tomb, a rich man's grave. He who had nowhere to lay his head in life now has a borrowed place in death. A great stone is rolled across the entrance, and the world holds its breath. This is what surrender looks like on Saturday. It looks like defeat. It looks like failure. It looks like the end. The darkness of the garden seems to have won. The grave is sealed. The disciples are scattered and hidden, their hopes dashed. The powers of the world, Rome and the religious elite, believe they have crushed the threat. This is the necessary pause, the seed falling into the ground. The Gethsemane prayer, "Your will be done," has led him into the heart of the earth. He has descended into the deepest part of the curse, into death itself, but the Father's will was not just suffering and death. The Father's will was resurrection. The Father's will was life. The Gethsemane surrender was not a surrender to death. It was a surrender through death to the glory that was to follow. And on the third day, the Father gives his resounding, thunderous Amen to the Son's finished work. The earth quakes again. The stone is rolled away, not to let Jesus out, but to let the witnesses in. And he rises. He emerges from the tomb, not as a resuscitated corpse, but as the firstborn of a new creation. The body that was broken is now glorified. The power that he refused to use for escape in the garden, the Father now uses to defeat the grave itself. The resurrection is the Father's public vindication of the Son's private surrender. It is the proof that the Gethsemane choice was the right one. It is the demonstration that the Father's will, though it led through the press, through the cross, through the grave, was always, always, always the path to life, to glory, and to victory. The surrender was the seed, the resurrection is the harvest, and so the anatomy of divine surrender is complete. It began in the darkness of a garden, with a soul overwhelmed to the point of death, with a man on his face, sweating blood, wrestling with the will of his Father. It was a battle of wills, a choice of agonizing submission. That choice, that yes, led him to the kiss of betrayal, the silence of the trial, the mockery of the crown, and the agony of the cross. It led him through the darkness of forsakenness and into the silence of the tomb. But because it was a surrender to a good and perfect Father, it did not end there. It ended with an empty grave. It ended with a risen Savior. It ended with the veil torn, with forgiveness proclaimed, and with death itself defeated. The prayer in Gethsemane has redeemed the failure in Eden. The tree of the cross, rooted in the soil of his surrender, has become the new tree of life, and its leaves are for the healing of the nations. His journey from the press to the tomb and out again is now our path. He has carved the way. He invites us into our own Gethsemanes, to fall on our faces, to be honest with our fears, but ultimately, to join him in that final, life-giving prayer, "Abba, Father, not my will, but yours be done." For he has proven, once and for all, that the will of our Father, however mysterious, however costly, is the only path to true life.